All right, well, it must be time to read Apothecary because the wind is whistling and howling literally outside right now. It's dark out and I can hear things banging up against my window. So I tell you, it's not dull over here. So that probably means the chapter in Apothecary won't be dull either. So we're going to hear more about Benjamin and Pip and Janie and the and Jinlo and the Pharmacopoeia and the Apothecary. Now, I have kind of an incomplete question, if you will, on the board. And the reason I did that, I left it kind of mysterious, is I didn't want to give anything away. So here are my questions for you. How will they do it? Do what, you say? There's several things they have to do. You might land on one. I might point it out to you. You never know. And then, how would you do it? Because I always find myself arguing with the characters in my head. That's what good readers do. They kind of have a conversation going sometimes. And so you're like, gosh, I wouldn't make that decision. Whoa, no, don't do that. Do it this, right? So I want you to have that argument in your head with your character to help you really pay attention to the choices and decisions that they are making. So, how will they do it? How would you do it? That's what we're going to focus on in chapter 25. Science team. That's like, hint, Sergi's going to be in this chapter. Benjamin and Pip and I went to St. Bendon's for the book, while the apothecary and Jinlo set off to collect provisions for the trip. In 2 hours, they were to meet Count Willi at the icebreaker, Kong Olaf, docked in the Thames, assuming Willi was safe and uncaptured. We were to go there to hand over the pharmacopoeia, assuming the book was safe and uncaptured too. It was still early and school hadn't started, but students were arriving and talking in little groups in the yard. I kept an eye out for Mr. Danby as we walked up the school steps. I tried to look nonchalant, as if this were just another day at school, but I was uncomfortably aware that none of us had a uniform. I was wearing Benjamin's clothes, and they looked dirty and slept in. A mother dropping her daughter at the school gave me a pinched look of censure. We made our way to the chemistry classroom, where the door was open. Benjamin peered inside, then waved us in. The room was empty, and I looked anxiously to the shelf in the back, terrified that we'd let the apothecary down. But the book was right there, where we'd left it. The pharmacopoeia's old brown leather spine blended in among the heavy textbooks and binders. Benjamin pulled the book down and put it in his satchel, where it stuck out as usual. "Good morning," a Russian voice said behind us, and we whirled, expecting the worst. But it was only Sergei Shishkin, standing in the door of the chemistry classroom. The shock of hair over his eyes was greasy, and he looked unwell. "Sergei," I said, "what's wrong?" "Nothing," he said, but his face twisted, and he grimaced as if he was trying not to cry. "I don't know anything." "Did something happen to your father?" "No," he said too quickly. "You can tell us," I said. "We're your friends." Pip tiptoed around behind him unnoticed and closed the classroom door. Sergei jumped at the sound. "I can't tell you anything." "Yes, you can," I said. "We have no secrets in science, team." I sounded sinister, even to myself, but we had to know what he knew. Benjamin reached for a beaker full of clear liquid on a lab table and held it up. "We just made up some smell of truths," he said. "A fresh batch." "No, please," Sergei begged. "You know how it works," I said. "You might as well tell us." "I can't." "Then you leave me no choice," Benjamin said, and he threw the liquid to the floor at Sergei's feet, where it splashed on his heavy black shoes. I hoped it was just water and not some kind of acid. "Smell that," Benjamin said. "You'll have to tell us now." Poor Sergei looked stricken. We had surrounded him, so he couldn't get away from the spill without knocking one of us over. The clear liquid didn't smell like anything, but it did spread slowly and ominously over the floor. "I saw your father break," Benjamin said, "and he's strong. You won't be able to resist telling us." Sergi put his hands over his face and moaned. The strange feeling must be coming over you now, I said. Please, Sergi begged, don't make me my mother. He stopped. What about your mother? Benjamin asked. When Sergi finally succumbed, I thought it was the need to talk to someone as much as the idea of the smell of truth. They have her, he wailed. The MGB does. Soviet security in Moscow. They know about your father's plan. They know everything. They told my father to play along and help the Soviets take the boat, or they will kill my mother and my sister. We stared at him. Is that true? Benjamin asked. Sergi gestured to the water on the floor. How can I lie? We have to tell my father, Benjamin said. No, Sergi cried. He will send my father away, and my father must be on the boat. They will have watchers to see him go. Then we have to go along and stop him once the boat has left, Benjamin said. But my mother, Sergi said. We will think of some way to protect her, Benjamin said. Don't worry. How will they do it? How would you do it? That's where I was thinking, but there was another spot before that where you could apply that as well. There was a pause as we all tried to think of what way that might possibly be. First, we have to get a board, Pip said. We could use the garbage can, I said. It didn't seem right to talk about being invisible in front of Sergi. We'd freeze to death naked, Benjamin said. What garbage can? Sergi asked, sniffing away his tears. Why naked? We'd need to find really warm clothes, I said, fur coats or something, and get them on board somehow. We all looked at each other stumped, except for Sergi, who was too traumatized to be stumped. The bell rang for class, but no one came in. There's that girl Sarah, Pip finally said. Yes, I said. That's a girl who'd have fur coats, but not a girl who'd give them to us. Pip grinned. I've got half a crown says she does, or I will have half a crown from that spotty chess bloke. I'll give to you. I'll give you odds. Benjamin's and my school uniform were still in the cupboard, and we changed into those behind the rolling chalkboard to look less conspicuous. We agreed that Sergi should go to class and try to act normal and not cry. Pip would go look for Sarah Pennington, watch out for Mr. Danby and Benjamin, and I would stay in the chemistry classroom to make more of the invisibility solution. We couldn't use it right away because we still had to take the pharmacopoeia to the apothecary, but we could take a concentrated version with us and find something later to use as a soaking tub. Before Pip left, I remembered that we'd already melted down my earrings. We need gold, I said. I'll find that too, Pip said, but the bet's now at 5 bob. Benjamin opened the pharmacopoeia to the page with the invisibility solution, and the process went much more quickly this time. We remembered the words and didn't need to go step by step with the Latin primer or wrestle with my feelings about my grandmother's earrings. We ground and dissolved and titrated until Pip came back with Sarah Pennington. As they walked into the room, Pip was talking to Sarah, and even though he was shorter than she was, he had a confidence that matched hers. It didn't come from having money. It came from having no money and from knowing how to survive. She couldn't take her eyes off him. I didn't know there was a science competition, she said. Of course there is, Pip said. We won last year at my old school. Sarah looked up and realized there were other people in the room. Hi, Janie, she said. Did you win too, back in California? I was getting tired of her mocking tone. Why do you keep saying California that way? Pip shot me a warning look for challenging his girl, for messing with his bet. What way? Sarah said. Like it's a joke. It's a real place. She rolled her eyes. Sorry, she said. So what's your project? We melt down a piece of jewelry, Pip said, and then we bring it back just as it was. Sarah fingered the gold necklace around her neck with its heart-shaped charm. Exactly as it was? It's a project on the conservation of matter, Benjamin said. Do you have a jeweler remake it? No. Then it's impossible. No, it's not. Yes, it is. So give me your necklace and I'll show you, Pip said. Sarah pressed her lips together, then she ducked her head to unfasten the gold chain. I glanced at Benjamin to see if he was looking at the mesmerizing back of her neck. But he was peering into the crucible. Sarah dropped the necklace into Pip's hand, and his fingers closed over the little heart. "It's still warm," he said. Sarah laughed. "Go on. You can really bring it back?" "We can do way more than that," Pip said, which I realized wasn't technically a lie. "We could do more than recover a melted necklace. We just couldn't do that." Pip handed the necklace to me, and I held it over the hot ceramic crucible. I hesitated for a second, but Benjamin caught my eye and nodded. What did a rich girl's necklace matter against the possibility of his father being captured in the North Sea, or of a Soviet atomic bomb going off because Leonid Sishkin had decided that his wife's life was more important than the apothecary's? I dropped the necklace in. Sarah could always get another one. It didn't look like it had been her grandmother's. "So when do you bring it back?" she asked. "At the competition," Benjamin said. "It'll be very dramatic." "Did you come from Mr. Danby's class?" I asked her, and wondered if he was still blinded. "Yes, but we have a substitute. Miss Walsh," she said. "You know I don't believe you can bring that necklace back." "We have another favor to ask you, Sarah," Pip said. "Oh?" "This lot said you wouldn't help us," Pip said. "But I said you would. I said you're the kind of girl who would naturally help." "I gave you my necklace, didn't I?" "This is more important." "All right. It's really important. So what is it?" "They didn't even think you'd have what we need." Sarah stamped her pretty foot with impatience. "Why don't you just tell me?" she said. I have to admit, he's a very good finagler, that Pip. "So, how will they do it?" "Make the invisibility thing, get their coats, help Sergei's mom, get the pharmacopoeia back to the boat." "How would you do it?" So many questions. I look forward to chatting with you about it another time. Meanwhile, remember to read and jot because, well, it's good to keep a reading journal. Catch you tomorrow. Bye.